Is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Remote Martin slideshow in the beginning. Oh, yeah. Alrighty, it's the top of the hour. It's time to start the show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Db2Night Show, episode number 207. I'm Scott Hayes, president and founder of DBI Software, an IBM Gold Consultant and IBM Champion. And today, our special guest is Les King, Director of Hybrid Data Management Solutions with IBM Canada. Les, how are you today?
Good. How are you doing today, Scott?
Very good. Very good. It's a beautiful, sunny, pleasant day in Texas. We had almost a record number of days of 100-degree heat in Texas this year. Somewhere in the high 40s. That's a lot of days over 100. It's very pleasant today.
Well, we've had a very similar summer here. Not that many days over 100, but it's been one of the hottest summers on record too, which made it absolutely beautiful being here by the lake in Toronto.
Outstanding. What lake are you near? The big one?
Yeah, Toronto's on Lake Ontario, so there's lots of opportunity to be near water.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, well, today we're going to have DB2 news from the IBM Canada Lab. And this is probably one of those presentations that you're continuously updating with the latest news. Here we go. DB2 Night Show is a show for the community. Follow us on Twitter. If you do any tweeting, mention the DB2 Night Show and Les King 00. I made that extra large 00, Les King 00. Join our LinkedIn group for the show where we talk about the show, announce upcoming shows, and collect your thoughts on the shows. Show disclaimers. Oh, I haven't done this in a long time. The DB2 Night Show sponsors, advertisers, hosts, and guests and the respective organizations, if any, are not responsible for any liability. Any content provided here and opinions and DB2 views are materialized in the viewer's mind only. Use information, ideas at your own risk. Use respect and courtesy when contributing to DB2 Night Show via tweets, email, or as a guest. Trademarks, registered trademarks belong to their respective organizations. The DB2 Night Show is being recorded. Your participation may be recorded via your contributions, if any. You consent to annual content being provided. Recorded via your ongoing participation. Mind your manners. Recordings and derivative works thereof will be made available as replays, blogs, related show materials. Copyright 2018. DBI. All rights reserved. DB2 is a registered trademark of IBM, and IBM is a registered trademark of International Business Machines. Woo! I know it's fun. Okay. Tonight's show, we'll have a few announcements. We got the news from the Canada Lab. We're going to ask some polling questions, and then we'll wrap up. Later this afternoon, in just 3 hours or so, DBI has a webinar, See and Fix What You Are Missing, How to Tune DB2 with Confidence. Just go to our events page and get more information on that webinar. We give away $10 Amazon gift cards just for joining us. So look for that and learn a little bit about DB2 performance tuning while you're in that event. Also, you should know iDoug has a DB2 LUW Lab Day coming up this Monday. And there's the agenda here on the bottom left, all the things they're going to cover. They're going to live stream this from the IBM Canada Lab. You can register for free at ibm.biz/db2day2018. That'll be fun. Les is going to be there as well, and all the IBM Gold consultants will be in the audience. So when you hear clapping and shouting and cheering, that's the DB2 Gold consultants. iDoug is having a conference in Malta celebrating iDoug's 30th anniversary. That's November 4th through 8th. Hopefully you've registered for that. It does say to book the hotel by September 17th. That's passed. I do know there are still some rooms available. If you haven't registered yet, you can get in there and enjoy a fantastic conference. On the Db2Night show coming up on the 26th of October, Mike Krafik is going to give his iDoug award-winning presentation, 10-minute Db2 LUW triage. 30th of November, Db2 system capacity analysis with the letter L missing with Klaus Brandt. And on the 21st of December, Eggnog Party with Martin Hubel giving his infamous indexes versus prefetch presentation, how to win the fight. I'll be on the edge of my seat for that one. Mainframe database, ZOS, 19th of October, Total Recall, exploiting in-memory features of DB2. 12 for ZOS with Julian Stuhler, Triton. 16th of November, Terry Purcell will be a guest. 14th of December, Christian Malero. We don't know what those topics are going to be, but we're going to get those published for you real soon on the show homepage. Congratulations to Engaraj Rathinasamy. I hope I didn't destroy that too badly. With Fifth Third Bank in Cincinnati. Engaraj won a $25 Amazon gift certificate. He was in show number 204 on June 22nd, Db2 SAP Success Stories on AWS. That was a great show. That was not an IBM person. It was the SAP AWS Twitter handle fella that we had presenting, and that was really cool to see about their success with DB2 on the AWS cloud and SAP. So we'll get that gift card out eventually. Giggle of the day, delete cookies. There's the cookie monster. That's scary. Of course, now every website you visit, you've got to accept and acknowledge that the sites are using cookies. It's crazy. Let's get Les on. DB2 News from the Canada Lab. Are you ready, Les? I'm going to click a button.
Yeah, you bet. You bet, Scott. I'll just put myself in presentation mode here, and we should be ready to go.
Yeah, click that button, and we should be able to see your screen. You can see your screen. And
how's that look?
That looks like a presentation, man. Good job. We got it sorted.
Alrighty then. So thanks very much, Scott. And I'm glad you mentioned the Db2 Lab Day that's coming up on Monday, because we've got an hour here. You have a little bit less than an hour, and I'm going to be introducing some topics. But if there's any topics that the audience is interested in getting more details on and a deeper drill down on, many of the topics I'm introducing here as an update from the lab are going to be covered in 30-minute or 45-minute sessions as part of the lab day on Monday. So this is actually perfect timing to kind of introduce what's happening on Monday. And one of the good things about Monday is that if for whatever reason there's folks in the audience that, it's like, I'm busy on Monday, I just can't make the time I want, we're going to be posting a recording of all of those Monday presentations that you showed out on the iDoug website there on the technical content. So we're going to be able to give people the opportunity to go and listen to the pieces that maybe they couldn't catch on Monday. So that's great news for the audience.
Outstanding.
So let's jump right in. And I just want to remind everybody, as we're going to be going through a whole bunch of individual topics, I want to be able to just start for a moment to pull that all together and remind everybody what our strategy is really all about. And it's about helping companies evolve the way in which they use DB2 and the way in which they work with data into a hybrid environment. And there's many dimensions of hybrid, including some stuff out in the cloud, some on the private cloud, some on premise, using traditional relational environments such as DB2, but also leveraging open source components like Hadoop and other open source data stores. Working with a mix of SQL and NoSQL applications as JSON becomes more prevalent as an example. And of course, opening the aperture from traditional relational structured data to also including semi-structured and unstructured data. And there's actually kind of a fifth dimension that cuts through all of these, which is working with data in motion as well as data at rest from an analytics perspective. So the core of our strategy is hybrid, and the way we bring our offerings to the market is leveraging a common software asset called the Common SQL Engine. And this Common SQL Engine is DB2 based as one of its sources of technology, and we'll talk more about that in detail. But this is great news for DB2 users, because what it is that you have the skills in and what you're used to is at the core of our whole hybrid data management strategy. And this Common SQL Engine can support any kind of workload, as you see on the left, and support any deployment choice, public cloud, private cloud, on-premise, as you can see on the right. And it's all about investment protection. It's really about giving you a write once, run anywhere application paradigm and investment paradigm. So if you decide you want to leverage cloud for development and test and then deploy on-premise as your production environment, you can do that. And you know that applications in your ecosystem will work. And that investment protection extends into being able to have one set of skills to manage any of these deployments and workloads, and also your entire ecosystem from a governance, data movement perspective, security, ETL, and so on, is if it works with one of our offerings that leverages the Common SQL Engine, it's going to work with all of them. So investment protection is at the core. And I mentioned DB2 is one of the key technical assets that makes up this common software asset. You can see here all the blue circles represent our offerings that leverage the Common SQL Engine. And we really have three legs of the stool when it comes to what technology is inside that Common SQL Engine. So one, of course, is DB2. A lot of high value capabilities from DB2, like the Oracle compatibility layer, very high scalability, high concurrency, the way in which we can do workload management, and so on. And then the second leg of the stool is technology from our Netezza acquisition. And that includes a very rich set of OLAP functionality, built-in analytic and predictive analytic capabilities, all running very close to the engine and providing very high performance. So Netezza is kind of the second leg of the stool. And the third is our new investment areas. And we're going to be drilling down on some of these today as part of the new news from the lab. But third investment areas around our HTAP investment, supporting JSON and NoSQL data sources, supporting our language support, and being able to work with unstructured and semi-structured data, integrating Spark into the Common SQL Engine, are all part of the new investment areas to address those dimensions of hybrid that we just saw a couple of charts ago. So three legs of the stool. DB2 is at its core, high value capabilities from Netezza around analytics, and of course, investment areas that map to the new growth areas and those dimensions of hybrid that we just referred to. So on the new news front, let's just jump right in. This year we had DB2 version 11.133 hit the market. It follows a similar themes that we've had for DB2 for multiple versions now, where we focus on our blue acceleration and columnar capability as the sort of core of our analytics investment. We focus on PureScale and our shared disk architecture for continuous availability and high-end OLTP. We've got NoSQL, the Oracle compatibility layer, and of course, being the best alternative to HANA for SAP applications are kind of the key themes that we've been very consistent on for many years now in our investment with DB2. And so if we take a look at the 11.133 highlights, and again, we're going to have a drill down on all of this as part of Monday's lab day. So this is kind of a high-level introduction. There was a lot of enhancements to high availability and core capabilities, including being able to support online create index for PureScale, faster member crash recovery for PureScale. So again, removing any opportunity for an outage there, being able to add and drop the cluster facilities in PureScale as well in an online manner. So there's a A lot of focus on anything that can cause an interruption to workload with PureScale has been a big focus for us in 11.133. A huge area of focus was data virtualization, and we're going to drill down a little bit on data virtualization. But inside that Common SQL engine is for those of you who've been around DB2 for a while, is what I'll call a supercharged federation server. And we have been, I call it supercharged because we've been very focused on the different options you have for performance, as well as the ability to work with a much wider variety of sources. So you can see here, we added in MariaDB as a new support, updated to current levels of DB2 iSeries and Teradata, more integration with Mongo and JSON over RESTful API, and pushdown improvements for higher performance when working with Hadoop environments, all inside this federation or data virtualization area. Blue, we had some incremental enhancements to Blue acceleration as well, such as temporal query or time travel query, as it's sometimes called. The ability to support indexes now to help with operational analytic performance and individual record lookup inside the columnar environment are key items. We've brought Solaris support back into the mix, and I'll go through our hybrid data management packaging later on in the presentation as part of the new news. So another rich release with 11.133, and you'll probably hear a little bit about 11.144 on Monday when we're in October, because we do have another release of DB2 coming out in fourth quarter of this year. So I won't say any more about that here, but I'll use that as a little bit of a taste test and an appetizer for folks to attend on Monday. The second area of new news is around our latest analytic appliance. And for clients who've been using the Pure Data System for operational analytics, this is kind of the next version of that as well. But we've positioned this as the next generation of our Netezza line. You can see that nice fish up there called Sailfish in the right corner, and we also call it the IBM Integrated Analytics System. So for market clarity, of course, we have to keep changing our names from Netezza to Pure Data System for Analytics, and now it's the IBM Integrated Analytics System. But the key of all this is the 4000 series next generation of our Netezza line, but it leverages the Common SQL engine. So it's got a lot of goodies from DB2 inside it as well. And it includes an integrated data science experience. It's got the Common SQL engine, as I mentioned already, and it's ready for cloud. So because it's leveraging the Common SQL engine, this appliance is ready to go so that you can extend your analytic workloads out over Hadoop. You can extend your analytic workloads into a public or private cloud type environment, and you have that write once, run anywhere paradigm. So that investment protection that comes with the Common SQL engine is all here. And of course, the IBM Integrated Analytics System is one of the topics we'll have on Monday, where we'll do a much deeper dive on this. But I do want to highlight some of the key areas of enhancement. We have monthly software drops for the IBM Integrated Analytics System, and we've been addressing key requirements like being able to handle both analytics and operational analytics and ODS type workloads with this appliance. So this really is a convergence with the Netezza line and the Pure Data System for operational analytics line, or what may be called the PDA and PDOA appliance lines. We're now down to one appliance that can handle any of the workloads that either one of those were handling before. Very high concurrency, up to thousands, tens of thousands of concurrent queries and users going on at the same time. And in-place expansion. This is new news from just a couple months ago. For those of you that have been around DB2 for a while, let's just go into details on that. We have the multi-temperature storage support, so the ability to create a hot, warm, and cold storage tier and have different storage groups where we manage where the data goes. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. And of course, a very rich set of HADR and replication solutions. Because one of the key differences between the Netezza line and and where we are now with this next generation analytic appliances, this is a logged system. So it gives us a much richer set of capabilities around log-based solutions. Very fast performance. For those of you who've been around DB2 for a while, you'll recognize the first 4 quadrants on the left as blue acceleration, right? The columnar, in memory, being able to work with data in its compressed form because we maintain order on our compressed data. Integration with hardware, including SIMD and multi-core acceleration. And of course, data skipping to make sure we're only bringing data into memory that you need for your workload. That's very analogous to zone maps, which was in the previous generations of the TISA. I mentioned in the introduction, we've got an embedded Spark engine. So now you've got the in-memory processing capability for unstructured and semi-structured data as well for performance. And we've got a very rich set of accelerations from Power. We leverage a Power 8 technology. So this is a Linux little endian environment, same as all the previous generations of our appliance, but we are leveraging some high capabilities from our Power line. And of course, the internal storage is flash storage, which is great for hot data and data that you're going to be accessing a lot. So that multi-temperature support and that expansion capability, one of the things we've added is the ability to do a couple things. One is to have in-place expansion of this appliance. So let's say you buy 1 rack and you need to grow to 2 racks, you can do that, and it'll all operate as a single appliance. Or if you need to grow from a 1/3 to a 2/3, or whatever the size is, we can do that. The second thing is that the multi-temperature data support that DB2 has had and PDOA has had for quite some time is now part of the IBM integrated analytics system, so that you can now have the hot and cold storage tiers. As I mentioned, the internal storage that's built into the appliance is flash disks, so great for hot data. You can now extend to a less expensive storage tier and extend your storage beyond what comes with the appliance, and leverage something like SATA drives or something like that for colder data that isn't queried as often. And so this is a great capability, and it's now kind of new news, part of the IBM integrated analytics system. Another piece of new news is we've now scaled the system up to 8 racks. So that final column there on the right is new. We grow in 1/3 rack increments up to 2 racks. I didn't put the 1 1/3 and 1 2/3 in there, but you can basically go 1/3, 2/3 full, 1 1/3, 1 2/3 2, and then after that we grow by single increments, and we now have up to an 8 rack offering. And you'll probably hear more about this on Monday, but part of our roadmap is to have a lower end to kind of, we had what was called mini Mako in the Mako and the N3000 line, and we're going to have something that kind of looks like a mini sailfish, which is the code name we've had for the IBM integrated analytics system. So that'll be part of this as well. All right, so next piece of new news, back to the data virtualization topic. And I mentioned that inside the Common SQL engine, we have our federation technology supercharged with many, many new sources and some strong capabilities to help optimize performance as you're pushing workloads out to different data sources. And as part of addressing the growing volumes of data and number of data sources that companies want to perform analytics against. I mean, in the end, your business analysts and data scientists want to just be able to go out and look at all of your enterprise data, and we all know that that's all over the place. It's in many different kinds of data sources and so on. And that's why data virtualization technologies is at the core of a logical data lake architecture. And we want to invest in this and make sure that we've got the kind of latest and greatest technologies included as part of our data virtualization. So I want to introduce something called IBM QueryPlex. And the best way to describe IBM QueryPlex is taking that federation server concept, that single node where the gateway is that opens the door to all of your other data. So you've got that gateway in the Common SQL engine, for instance, inside your appliance or inside DB2. And now you want to get data from other data sources. And today, when you do that, the all the data for all the result sets would have to flow through that gateway. And as we see volumes and number of data, volume of data and number of data sources growing at a very fast rate, we want to make sure that that never becomes a bottleneck. And so what we're doing is basically taking that federation server piece and turning that into a grid architecture, pushing it out into what we call the Queryplex constellation. And each one of those dots you see there is one of your data sources. So you can have like a Teradata in there and an Oracle and a Hadoop cluster in there and cloud, environments and so on. And then your analytic application will connect into one of those data sources in the constellation. But now the workload and all the members of the constellation all talk to one another, and they say, hey, I've got this piece of data that query needs, and I've got some compute capacity, so I'll do the work. And we basically remove any potential bottleneck that could come into the federation server node or in that common SQL engine component, and push that out into the constellation of all of your data sources. And this gives you, a great amount of speed up. It means you can have querying many sources in a very simple manner. And this constellation will take care of, okay, where do we have the processing power, so we're sitting close to the data and so on. So a very rich set of capabilities. It's always nice to see a picture here that helps make it a little bit more clear. So the edge computing example, the coordinator there would be your federation server. And that's what's there today. The Queryplex's computational mesh basically pushes all of that work out so things don't have to keep coming back and forth to the coordinator until the result set's ready. So a great scaling opportunity for data virtualization. Now, the one thing I will say, as you can see here, it's not going to replace federation right away because some of the API and the data sources aren't supported yet with Queryplex. So we're going to have both for a little while, basically. But if we see that clients like this Queryplex approach and it is actually doing a good job of what it's supposed to be doing, it's in beta today, then we'll finish closing off on the functional gaps between the federation technology and Queryplex, and Queryplex will become the next generation of our data virtualization technology. So for more information on this, of course, we got the Monday session. It's a 30-minute drill down session on exactly this topic where you can hear more news. And of course, you can go check out the website here at queryplex.com. So why don't I just pause here for a second? I guess we're almost at half time there, Scott, and I think you'd like to have a brief break.
Very good. Yes, sir. Thank you very much. It's time to ask some polling questions, I think. Show my screen. Here we are. Polling questions. First polling question. What DB2 LUW versions are you currently running? It's going to be good to check in with the worldwide DB2 community and see where people are. We did take the summer off, as we always do. People watched a lot of replays this summer. Thousands and thousands of shows downloaded. We let polling questions go about 30 seconds or until 80% of the audience votes, whichever comes first. Going once, going twice. Let's get one more person to vote. There we go. Closing the poll and sharing the results. 53% on version 11, 63% on 10.5. That's a surprise to see it that way. 26% on 10.1, 21% on 9.7, and 11% on 9.5 or earlier. And didn't I read recently that 10.5 is going to go out of service less? It's like in 2020 or something?
Yeah, we're basically down to the last couple of years of support for 10.5. So I believe that'll be it's either April or September of 2020. Scott, I forget which month it is, but you got the right year, and so the clients are thinking about, or they're on 10.5 still, start thinking about the 11.1.
Time to giddy up and move along. Now we're asking people what operating systems they use. I guess we got to put Sun Solaris back on here now that Solaris came back into DB2's life. Sigh.
Yeah, got to update the poll question.
But go to webinar only allows us to offer 5 choices. So what are we going to do? All right. Need that one last vote. Somebody else click. Going once, going twice, closing the poll, sharing the results. 53% AIX, 32% Windows, 68% x86 Linux. I think that's one of the first times I've ever seen Linux beat AIX. Z-Linux coming in at 11%. That's a great operating system and platform right there. Surprise, surprise. Linux, wow. Next polling question. Would you be interested in watching the Db2Night show replays on YouTube? Some people love their YouTube. Other people want to download the replays and watch them at the gym. And then there's people who want it both ways. They want to have the downloads and watch on YouTube. Just a fun question.
Well, no downside for both other than more work for you.
That is exactly right. I'll have to figure out how to get my YouTube account going again. Going once, going twice, closing the poll, sharing the results. 28% say they want the YouTube. 68% like both. All right, next polling question. Are you using DB2 and that fluffy cloud thing? AWS cloud and IBM cloud, another cloud, not yet. Considering in the future, no way, no how, not for us. Getting the opinions on the cloud here. Some of our audience are very fast on the mouse, Les, and others are a little bit slower to click. 83% voted in 25 seconds. Closing the poll, sharing the results. No AWS, no IBM cloud, 10% another cloud, 65% say considering in the future, 25% no way, no how, not for us, not going to be in the cloud. That's your solidly on-premise people, Les. Okay, next polling question. Are you using DB2 PureScale? It's been exciting to watch the adoption of PureScale grow. Once we got all those improvements to PureScale in DB2 version 11, people are starting to take a shine to it. I guess on that Fix Pack 3, you've got even more availability enhancements for PureScale, so that's exciting. Okay, closing the poll, sharing the results. 25% yes, 25% evaluating or planning, 50% no need. And that's true. Not everybody needs that extreme performance and high availability. Okay, well, thanks for playing and answering those questions. And we'll ask one more question at the end. Commercial break from today's show sponsor, DBI Software, smarter tools for smarter people. I just thought I'd quick pop up Brother Panther here for a second. Take a look at a trend chart for this database. There's my trend charts, view performance trends. And I'm going to look at rates, SQL per second. And I'm going to do a trend for 2 years. Why not? Because I can. So here's a 2-year trend of my activity rates. And I can see pretty much this DB2 server isn't doing much except for these times when I hit peak activity rates. And when the rates go really high, so I can drill in on this time frame here. Oh, there's a spike there. And where I have a spike in my activity rates, I can ask the question, well, what was running when the rates were so high? And there's the SQL that was running at that time. And that's super easy, super easy. Here is, I got a graph of performance for this statement. And we can see it was running slow and then it was running fast. And right about here, we're going to have a change indicator. And it says we created an index on a column. And after we create that index, we can see the statement runs faster. So these are performance trend charts with change indicators plotted on the charts so that you have contextual information about what's happening. Okay, I'm going to put you back on Les. Attendees, make Les the presenter.
There we go. Should see DB2 Big SQL 5.0. Oh, not until I push the button, you won't.
Yeah.
Show my screen. How's that?
Yep, I can see it. Looking good, man.
All right. Well, let's continue with the new news. And once again, this is a topic where we'll have a good half-hour drill down on it when we get to the session on Monday. So just as a reminder to everybody, we have partnered with Hortonworks from the point of view of the HTTP distribution. So IBM's IOP is converging with HTTP going forward. And where we're focusing our attention is on the high value capabilities that you see here in black around and running on the HTTP platform. And that includes, of course, Big SQL, which is the common SQL engine available on Hadoop, but it also includes replication solutions, our information server portfolio with data stage, quality stage, the probabilistic and fuzzy matching capability from MDM with Big Match, IGC, our Cognos, Watson Analytics, and SPSS, and of course the data science experience for data scientists. So we're focusing on the high value capabilities associated with running on Hadoop, and of course Hortonworks is focusing on HTTP itself as the core open source framework for Hadoop. And to keep on the hybrid data management piece of the conversation, which is what we're all here for today, here is basically DB2 running on Hadoop. And it is a native version of DB2 running in Hadoop, and we call it DB2 Big SQL. And you can use DB2 Big SQL to build logical schemas over Hadoop files, like CSV files and Parquet files and ORC files and all that kind of good stuff. Or you can actually build and create a native DB2 table and HDFS with DB2 Big SQL as well. And what makes DB2 Big SQL really unique in the Hadoop space is the full richness of functionality you can see here. All that data virtualization we talked about is available for Hadoop. Our optimizers out there building good access plans and helping make sure that we're being as optimal as possible. We've got some benchmarks to back that up, which I'll show you in just a second. The Oracle compatibility is there. So if you've got an Oracle app you want to move to Hadoop, we provide a native PLSQL stored procedure engine, just as we do inside DB2 for Hadoop. So you've got a very, very rich set of capabilities. You basically have the value of DB2 available out in Hadoop. And here's some more details here, and I'll just highlight some of the items which were new in DB2 Big SQL 5.03. This includes being able to, of course, leverage all of those enhancements around federation that I mentioned. So the rich data virtualization capability. It includes the ability to leverage MQTs from a performance perspective and have summary tables available to you in your Hadoop environment to accelerate performance. We have integrated with Elastic Boost and Apache Slider for being able to provide both inter and intra-node parallelism in a Hadoop cluster, which is giving a 50% performance gains on top of these benchmark results that you see down below. We've got our advanced security there with roles, for instance, and role and column access control. And so basically the DB2 engine of available out in Hadoop. And we have had some previous TPCH and TPCDS benchmarks that you've probably seen. They've been around for a couple of years now, but we've updated a couple of benchmarks to DB2 Big SQL 5.0 now, with an updated benchmark versus Hive, and also just comparison to Spark SQL. And that brings us kind of to this, which is just to remind everybody on how we position what we're doing here. So DB2 Big SQL is a proprietary, high-performance, fully functional, with the full NC SQL 2011 capability available for Hadoop. Spark SQL is open source. So it's part of the Apache Spark project. It is also from IBM, but it gives an open source option where DB2 Big SQL is a proprietary licensed option for running SQL in the open source Hadoop environment. And of course, we integrate with Hive. Hive is really good for metadata management and executing user-defined functions. And so where Hive brings some very solid high-performing capabilities to the table, DB2 Big SQL will leverage Hive. But DB2 Big SQL is a native SQL interface for Hadoop. It's not flowing through MapReduce or anything like that. It's an alternative to that.
Hey, Les, I want to remind everybody that if they have any questions, they can ask them in the GoToWebinar question tool. And so this is here on the Db2Night show. That's how people can actually ask you questions, whereas they may not be able to ask questions on the live stream on Monday. So if you
that's a really good point. Yeah, really good point, guys. Yeah, we won't be able to handle an interactive Q&A on Monday. So this is an excellent time for the listeners to ask any questions based on what I've said here today. Thanks for bringing that up.
And you talk really fast. Do you ever come up for air, or you just have this infinite capacity in your lungs?
just at the 30-minute break point.
Yeah.
I did a lot of breathing.
All right, carry on, man.
All right. So next piece of new news, that's DB2 Big SQL. And now we want to get into something new that we just brought out to the marketplace this year. It's called DB2 Event Store. And let's just start. I think it's important to define what event processing is. And the way to look at event processing is taking new sources of data, like data from sensors and devices and so on, and enriching a traditional transaction. So as we talk about how we enrich them, the first thing to note is traditional OLTP transactions are not going away. They're not changing. They're still there. But we can really enrich that information through Internet of Things and other data sources. So let me, probably the best way to do is just go through an example. One example, and I'll go through a couple more examples when we do this session on Monday. But one example would be Hertz or a car rental agency, none in particular. I just brought one up because that's the one I always use. So anyways, a car rental agency would have a transaction. I rent a vehicle for a week. I pay $200. I drove 400 kilometers. Here's the vehicle identification number. Here's the location I picked up the car, returned the car, my insurance options, the fuel was full when I got it when it returned, the odometer readings, and so on. So a traditional transaction is still there, right? No change there. But now, while I'm renting that vehicle, the car itself, it has sensors and devices on it. For instance, it has sensors that say, hey, one of the brake pads is wearing thin, or the alignment's a bit off, or one of the tire pressures is running low. And so while I'm driving that vehicle, the car is sending information back to the rental agency to build a maintenance requisition for, here's what maintenance needs to be done with this vehicle after I return it and before someone else rents it. Right, so that's happening now real time. The car is saying, hey, I'm going to need this and I'm going to need that. The second thing is there's a GPS system in the car. And not only did I drive 400 kilometers, but here are the 400 kilometers I drove. So take an example, like I rent a vehicle down in Los Angeles. And one of the insurance options says can't leave the country. The insurance only applies while I'm in the United States. Anyways, I come back and the side view mirror is missing, and I said, oh, it must have happened in the parking lot in one of the stores I was at in LA. And they say, no, you drove your 400 miles that you drove, you went down to Tijuana, Mexico, which then violates your insurance, and so you're buying us a new side view mirror because I now know where I drove. And so you can see there's some real business applications that could come from what information these sensors and devices are bringing to the table to enrich an OLTP transaction. So this isn't about any rental in general. This is about my specific rental, right? So that's the tie-in to the OLTP transaction.
The rental company also knows that you have a heavy foot and you drive very fast and you brake hard, and therefore when you return the car, we're going to put a maniac driver surcharge on you.
That might happen one day.
You're a bad driver, Les.
I have been told that there is a heavy foot there once in a while. So what is unique about that workload, right? First off is you've got sensors and devices constantly sending information. So massive, fast data ingest is required. Secondly, you're running historical and real-time potentially analytics against that data. So you're going to have, you need the analytic type workloads. Third, some of these use cases may require highly available environment. And of course, you need to share this data with other systems like your OLTP system. That's where the original transactions are coming from. So you've got, for those of you who've been around and listening to us tell our HTAP story, this is an HTAP example, right? Massive data ingest going on at the same time as real-time and historical analytics. So this is an example of HTAP, of course. And what we've brought to the market is a system that's a mix of proprietary and open source components to deal with exactly this kind of workload. And we'll drill down in the architecture more on Monday, but basically you can see it includes Spark as the in-memory core for this massive amount of data ingestion. You can run your analytics with DB2 Big SQL, which we just talked about, that leverages the common SQL engine. This is running on a traditional open source type of environment with Parquet files and HDFS, and it's very Hadoop-like. And of course, you have your applications that you can do development with and deployment and analytics and have data scientists point at this data as well. So it's a very complete solution, and of course, there's an architecture here that supports the continual flow of data, whether it's into the analytics engine or whether it's data into the Spark engine for ingestion, and you can also analyze the data while it's in motion and harden whatever pieces of data you need to harden. So we'll drill down more on this on Monday when we have a little more time, but that's another key piece of new news that ties into our commitment to open source and Hadoop and really opening up the world to being able to have a complete solution ready to go for event processing. IBM Cloud Private has been a new announcement this year as well. And we have a very rich set of offerings in the cloud. And we saw from the survey results, some of you are already using DB2 in the cloud. Look like not on AWS or IBM, but on other cloud providers, and that's great. You may be using the fully managed cloud offerings such as DB2 in cloud or DB2 Warehouse in cloud, or maybe you have a customizable environment with DB2 hosted. And we've had a lot of enhancements and new capabilities like the separation of compute and storage and being able to scale up compute and storage separately for our offerings. We used to have these kind of pre-configured t-shirt sizes, and we've now moved to a very flexible scaling mechanism for cores and memory separate from storage. And we also have offerings, the equivalent offerings available for private cloud. And what's private cloud, right? So private cloud is a cloud infrastructure, but it's behind your firewall. And it really brings that software as a service capability So you have the elasticity, the container-based approach. You can leverage Docker containers and Kubernetes from a management perspective, and have all of the sort of software benefits of the cloud, but you do it behind your firewall. And that's why it's called a private cloud, which means you're responsible for your infrastructure and platform pieces of the puzzle. And you can build your own infrastructure and platform, and then of course leverage our DB2 based cloud offerings on that. But you can also roll in a ready-to-go platform as a service, and that's what IBM Cloud Private is. So it's a ready-to-go infrastructure and platform as a service for a private cloud, and then allows you to leverage our capabilities. It's Kubernetes-based. It supports a container-based approach for deployment. We've got a rich set of middleware that's supported on there, so we can absolutely, I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. It's compliant, it's scalable, it has high availability capabilities, and it really is a ready-to-go, roll-in a platform as a service. Now, from an analytics perspective, you can see that a rich set of our DB2 capabilities are available on ICP. So you've got DB2 OLTP, customized workloads. You've got DB2 Warehouse. You've got the ability to scale on the warehouse side. You've got Big SQL, Event Store, and more, all available on Cloud Private. And also the rest of our portfolio is there as well. Data Science Experience, Data Stage, IGC, Cognos on SPSS, and so on. And one of the offerings we have is something called IBM Cloud Private for Data. And this is basically all the things you see in the blue boxes, as well as the things I didn't mention from our analytics portfolio, in an integrated, ready-to-go, complete package. So you can get the individual DB2-based products that you need, or you can say, you know what, I just want IBM Cloud Private for Data, and you get the whole thing, and it's ready to go for your entire analytics ecosystem. So a really, really tight integration on value between Cloud Private and the analytics portfolio. Of course, the data management services are all there with the Common SQL engine. So all of the value of the Common SQL engine is available. You can do your production deployments on Cloud Private, and you can use public cloud for dev test or for a DR environment, because you've got that investment protection in the Common SQL engine. And it's secure and governed, and it's, as I mentioned, container-based, and it's a ready-to-go platform as a service. So really tight partnership between our Cloud Private development team and the analytics team to make sure you've got a ready-to-go analytics solution on ICP. Lots of URLs here for future additional details on ICP. So obviously won't have time to go through all of these right now, but lots of places for you to go and get more information. And again, ICP and ICP for Data will be a topic on Monday where we can spend a little more time on it. And just to finish off on our new news, the last thing is, and I mentioned this in the 11.133 update, is we have a new hybrid data management package or a bundle. And it actually gives you the ability to have a set of capacity for the hybrid data management portfolio, basically for the Common SQL engine-based offerings. And then you can shift those deployments as you need to. You can shift them between the cloud and on-premise. You can shift them between workloads of event processing, OLAP, OLTP. You can shift them out over Hadoop with DB2 Big SQL. And you can make those adjustments as your environment needs to. We looked at some of the questions in the survey results today, and some of the options were always not doing this yet, but will be in the future. And that came up, for instance, under cloud as an example, right? That came up under PureScale as an example. And so now you've got the ability to just have a set of capacity envelope for all of the Common SQL Engine DB2-based offerings that are available. And you can shift those licenses as you need to through different deployment choices and different workload deployments as required. And of course, the rest of the analytics portfolio is doing the same thing, but we're here talking about DB2 today, so I'm highlighting that. And we have basically one of the abilities to license this hybrid data management to something called FlexPoints. So it kind of says, hey, you know, here's how much DB2 is worth, a DB2 Warehouse or DB2 Event Store, DB2 Big SQL, and the overall capacity that you're using is measured in flex points, and then you apply the number of flex points you need for what it is you're going to deploy. So very flexible set of capabilities on both licensing and pricing. To kind of tie in the licensing and pricing piece of the Common SQL Engine equation, kind of looping back to where we started. And that's a high-level summary of the new news out of the lab, Scott. And as we've mentioned a few times today, there's going to be a deeper drill down on many of these topics on Monday. So let me just finish up here and see if there's any questions, and then reiterate that we hope where people are interested, they'll join us on Monday to hear more and more details on these things.
Well, thank you very much, Les. We'll check the question queue. Don't see any questions at the moment. I guess you just blew people away. All that great news. So let's see. Questions, people? Go ahead and put your questions out there for Les. Ask the hard questions. Let's play Stump the Presenter. Oh, we're already done with the commercial. Although TBI was honored 5 years in a row, Trend-Setting Products, DBTA magazine. That's great. Time to wrap up. We have a final polling question for our audience. Did you learn anything today? Let's ask our audience if they learned anything today.
Well, hopefully there's a couple of yeses, especially if it's new news.
Hopefully, yes. It should be lots of people learning lots of things from all this awesome news. Going once, going twice, closing the poll, and sharing the results. It's pretty good, Les. 93% learned something today.
Well, that's good. I'd love to know who the no is. I promise it wasn't me. I didn't vote.
It's probably one of your friends that's seen this slide deck before. All right.
Yeah.
Hide that. And close that. Okay, so we remind you to watch replays. Thank you very much to all of our attendees that joined us today. And thank you, Les, for your presentation. We appreciate it very much. And I'm going to look at that question queue. Maybe somebody asked a question. That's exciting. Not a tough one. Need the URL for Monday. Okay, Monday, that was back here. Right there. IBM.biz/DB2Day 2018. There's the URL, IBM.biz. DB2Day 2018. There's the URL. Thanks for your question.
And it's probably worth mentioning, Scott, if anybody didn't catch that, they can go to the idug.org website and they can register from there as well.
There you go, Les. You are wise beyond your years. Okay, I think it's time to cue the end of the show music and wrap it up. Les, I'll be seeing you next week. Everybody, thanks again. Have a happy, enjoyable, and safe weekend. I'm going to the Texas Craft Beer Festival in Austin. It's going to be amazing. All right, DBI, it's your sponsor of the show. DBI is your trusted partner for breakthrough DB2 performance solutions that deliver invaluable results for organizations having the most demanding requirements and discriminating preferences. Check us out online. Email us at salesteam@dbisoftware.com or do it the old-fashioned way. Give us a call. We'll take your calls. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.